Hi, what's your name?
Kelly Maguire.
Okay, Kelly, good to know you. Why don't we start off and just tell me a little bit about yourself. Who's Kelly Maguire?
I'm a small town kid, kind of a simple guy from a small town in Minnesota. Grew up with a real appreciation for that Midwestern work ethic.
Right.
I'm a licensed pilot, second lieutenant in the Civil Air Patrol, training to be mission rated so that in a time of need I could fly search and rescue or supply missions. Professionally, I've spent the last 12 to 15 years helping companies balance the need for technology and the commitment to that as a support for their business against the cost and the risks associated with doing that. There's sometimes a fine line between a gadget and a bona fide business tool, and I help companies walk that line.
That's true. That's very true. Talk to me a little bit about your leadership style. How do you motivate people? How do you work with people, and sort of thing?
This is a topic that fascinates me. I mean, my concentration even in school was organizational behavior, and I think a lot about this, and I work on it constantly, trying to be better tomorrow than I was yesterday. I think my experience has been that the strongest people, the best people, are far more likely to be led to a conclusion or to a destination than to be pushed there or driven there. And I think if you if you take the steps necessary to give people a chance to look together in the same direction, chances are they'll do it for you willingly. There are some cases where, with that being said, I think other times there's an opportunity to find out what type of a manager, what type of a leader this person needs. And when the situation permits for it, go ahead and be that type of leader for them. If they're high touch, hands-on, when the circumstances are appropriate, give that to them. If they want space, give them space.
Do you consider yourself a hands-on kind of manager, or are you pretty much coach from the skybox? I mean, how do you...
I'm a little bit paranoid about not understanding things, so I like to know how everything works, even though I'm very comfortable handing things off. It's kind of, once I understand how it's supposed to happen, then I don't mind letting somebody else run it their way. So I'm good about that, but I'm painfully curious. I need to understand how everything works in that sense.
Okay, all right. In terms of your career thus far, is there some accomplishment that you're really proud of that you could share with me?
Well, yeah, there's a couple that would come to mind. They're not short stories, but I'll give you one that I'm very proud of. 4 years ago, I was working for a large national bank, and they got sold. They spun off all of the Western U.S. So if you were in the Western U.S., which I was, you were going to be closed or sold. A few of us got together, formed an LLC, and purchased the entire operation for one of the Western states. And we started that company from scratch. What we learned quickly was we no longer had an HR department because that had been centralized at corporate back in Michigan. We no longer had accounting. We no longer had compliance. We didn't even have a WAN. We didn't even have a network guy. And so in a period of 6 weeks, with the help of 2 other people, I built from scratch the entire infrastructure, including the software, the connectivity, the disaster recovery, trained our new HR person on the software, got our accounting department in place, showed them how these pieces work together. And to cap it all off, we were moving from one building to a new building, and I personally supervised both the move and the migration from old stuff to new stuff while all the senior managers were in Hawaii at the owner's wedding.
It's kind of like building a bridge while you're walking on it.
and I tell you, I was absolutely had a blast with it. I mean, I was actually unofficially responsible for the construction of the new building because it had to tie in with the tools and pieces we were going to need there. And that was fun.
Well, this is always an interesting question. I mean, companies always get down to 2 or 3 good candidates. You know, there's always like maybe more, maybe 5. If they're in that situation and they're scratching their head, why would you encourage them to hire you?
I think it's possible, even though it's probably rare. I think there are times when one person will change a company and uplift it forever, and I think I'm that person. And here's why. I've spent the last 15 years really in a job that doesn't really exist. I have a unique, if not completely rare, skill set in that I've been a successful commission salesperson. I speak sales. I was the director of technology for a large national company. I understand and have worked hands-on with the technology.
Right.
I can deal with and have worked successfully and happily with the CFO, the COO, the owner, the frontline knowledge workers. Invariably, at almost every company where I've been, I end up in a job that doesn't exist. I end up being the one guy that can speak fluently to each of those different departments. And sometimes those departments, either they don't get along or they don't necessarily communicate very well, and they don't mean to, but I'm the translator. I'm the bridge builder. Okay. And when you do that, what happens is you get a very happy, unified bunch of people moving in the same direction. Absolutely. And while that sounds kind of simple, it's actually very powerful.
Okay. Well, Kelly, I certainly appreciate you spending some time with me. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Chris.
Okay.